In today's video, I will show you everything you will need to plant and grow your roses, especially when you just start. We're gonna start with a rose plant. I would strongly recommend to buy some healthy, good quality rose plants to start with. And you will have two options when buying a rose. The first one will be a naked bare root rose. And you do have to remember to soak your bare root rose before planting it. So it will look basically naked part like that without any foliage or flower. And those are usually cheaper than a potted one. The second option will be potted rose, like this one. We have potted rose in here from David Austin, Queen of Sweden. This rose has detailed guide in here where you can find all the essential information about the rose, how to look after it, cost of it, type, color, detailed guide how to look after it, all the details you need, which I strongly recommend. And the plant itself is very healthy, so definitely recommend buying from David Austin, as they do have the most beautiful roses. And I am based in UK, so you can easily purchase them here. However, they do sell them to other countries as well. Potted rose is slightly more expensive than a bare root one. However, there's less chances that anything gonna go wrong. So I would strongly recommend it to go for potted one, especially if you are a beginner. The main facts about roses is that they're most beautiful flowers and they don't need much looking after, which is an extra bonus. Roses are also very forgiving, meaning if something goes wrong, you can always fix the problem and they will be just fine. Gloves. Of course, you'll need a pair of good gardening gloves, especially when you're working with roses. You cannot have a plastic one for obvious reasons. Watering can. Watering your roses is important too, probably more important than you might think. Freshly planted roses like this one, we can only water every other day, and established rose like this one is 3-year-old, we can only water it once a week. But you can tell if your rose is overwatered, and because the leaves will start turn yellow, and also, so if it's yellow, and they will start to droop. So those are two signs when you're watering your rose too much. Please also note that it's the best to water as close to the root, to the base, as you can. If the water is starting to flood away from the base, then you have to stop for a while, let it sink, and then continue. It's also important to know that watering foliage can encourage disease problems, particularly if it remains on the leaves overnight. You will need two types of secateur. The first is just a regular secateur, which you will need to prune the roses. And the second type of secateur is a deadheading snips. You will need secateurs. I will strongly recommend to invest in a good quality secateur. You need it to prune your roses. Shaping your roses is essential, the most important thing you can do for your roses, to give them shape, structure, and to improve the blooms during the season. Deadheading snips. I purchased those directly from David Austin website and I paid for them £13. You need to deadhead as required throughout flowering season, not only at the end of the season. Deadheading encouraging more flowers, so it's important that you need to remove entire flower head, dead flower head, by cutting the stem just above the first leaf, which has 5 leaves, so it will be just above here, just about there. and that will encourage more flowering later on. You will also need one of those. I purchased this one directly from the David Austin website, and you will need probably 1/3 of a pack per rose. You just sprinkle it around the side of the hole you dig for your rose and the bottom. This will aid root development and lead to the healthy plant. Okay, now we're moving to the soil. When planting a rose, if we're planting a rose in the ground, in your garden, all you will need is a bit of manure. So we'll use probably 25% of manure. So we'll dig a hole for your rose, and then we're gonna use on the bottom of the hole, we will use some soil improver like this, and it will need to be probably 25% of it. So we'll throw that in and then backfill with normal soil from your garden, and you are done. If you're gonna plant your rose in a pot, of course then this pot has to be big enough for your rose, to accommodate your rose, and you will need 2 types of soil. So you will use all-purpose soil, 50% of that mixed up with 50% of John Innes number 3 mature plant compost. This one is a special good for roses, but you do have to mix it up half and half with all-purpose one. So we're gonna do half and half if we're planting it in a pot, and it will be perfect. When planting your rose in the ground, you will need a good quality spade with a sharp end and a fork. So you will need both of them. Why both? Basically, you're gonna dig a hole with your spade, and then you're gonna go ahead and use your fork. We'll dig in a hole a bit further with a fork, and stabbing inside the hole with the fork will allow roots to go deeper and help your rose get established. I've actually purchased one of those spade today. As you can see, it's nice stainless steel, good quality one, so hopefully it will last me a little bit. Okay, pots. We've got 2 pots in here. The most recommended pots for roses are terracotta pots, and bigger pot will need bigger hole in the middle at the bottom of your pot. So this one has 2, and this one also has hole in here, and it's very important. So bigger the pot, bigger the holes, or more of them. This is especially important for a good drainage condition. As an extra, you also can purchase a stand for your pot. This one is on a wheel, so you can move it easily, and it's nice and decorative, so it's nice and looks great as well. And you can move it easily because obviously if your pot gonna be very heavy, especially when you add the soil, so just remember that. So stand work actually can help move your pot easily. Those pots I purchased from the same place to save some money on delivery, because it's quite expensive, especially when it's like a big item like this. For this one I've paid £49. It looks pretty simple, and for this one I paid 65. So it's a lot of money, but I'm hoping that this one gonna go in front of the house, so I wanted something a bit extra, and this one is quite simple. It is recommended to use a pot with a minimum internal dimension of 45 centimeters on 45. Roughly it will be 60 liters. So this will be ideal for your rose. I will be planting this rose in here in this pot, so this is climbing rose, so it will go on very top, and this was also a climbing rose, and it started to bloom, and it will go in front of a house, hopefully. Okay, we just had delivery, and they have delivered a pot stand for our roses. So roses, the best for roses would be to plant them in a terracotta pot. Terracotta pot, it's heavy itself. It was £35, and it was from Garden Pride company. Extra bonus is that when you've got terracotta pot, at the bottom of terracotta pot you need to use some pieces like this for extra drainage, so those are really good for draining the pot. So we'll put a few pieces like this in a pot as well, so we'll use that. I'm not sure if I mentioned, but this is easy to move, as you can see. So if you've got something heavy, it's really good. Looks very nice and stylish, of course. And this one got also a stop, so when you want to secure this in one place, you just put a stop on and basically it won't move. So you got that extra security. That's how it looks on the side. So it's a bit up in here, got secure sides, and it's quality made, of course. Really recommend it, this stand.